And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Alright, now this... Felinia. Now, let's take a closer look at the box here. Okay? Zooming up. Now, this will look like what we normally would call trading in a Mediterranean style game. But instead of being humans, and instead of being the Mediterranean, we see merchants with the heads of cats. It's kind of like that dog poker painting picture, except here it's cats trading in the Mediterranean or trading in whatever. Okay, well, great. Yes, they've shaken the theme up a bit. But, ladies and gentlemen, when you take the lid off the box and when you read the rules and I say, okay, oh, they're trading goods and boats. All right, well, let's see what they are. What are they trading? Are they trading catnip and kitty litter? No. They're trading spice, gold, clothing, glassware. Let's see what else they got here. Food. And there's no pictures of cats. The boats aren't shaped like anything special. This is a trading in a Mediterranean game with pictures of cats on the cover called Felinia. Come on! If you're going to put effort into a theme, great. I'm all for different kinds of themes. I mean, that's one of the things I shout about. But really? I have to believe this is satire on just how jaded this genre has become. And one of the guys in my gaming group said that the reason they picked Felinia was because they had simply run out of other names of places to name games after. Alright, be that as it may, what about the game? Let's look. One side of the board. The board has two sides, one for the basic game and one for the advanced game. And what players are going to be doing is they are going to be looking at their player board, and this board is going to have a marker on it of their color to use to keep track of how much money they have. So I'll put that one there as an example. And each round, players are basically trying to get different goods and ship them. Now you would think, okay, I already said my fill about the theme, and I'll say more in a bit. But here's how this game works. On your turn, you will take one of these tokens, and you will place it on one of these places here to buy goods at that place. Or you can go to the trading house. Or you can place the good on your card and take money. Now, you're putting out 3 tokens. And so if you put out this token on the first turn, the first time around putting tokens, you get 1 coin. The second time around, the third time around, you get 3 tokens. So you say, well, why would you not put it around the third time? Because here's how this works. If red puts his token here, and then blue puts his token here, the person on top gets to buy first. So I might put the yellow token there because I really want to buy one of those goods. I really need a certain color from that spot. For example, it's the only spot where there's that dark brown treasure chest that can be gotten. So that's why sometimes you don't know. But I mean, you can take the money, but you might want to go there instead. Once everyone has placed them out, we start at the top on it down, and each person who's put someone there has a chance to buy something. The person on top first, but that person has to pay how many people are in the stack. So there's 3 on the stack there, so yellow would have to pay 3 and take one of their choice. Blue then would pay 2, take 1. Red would pay 1 and take the last one. If there's only one person there, then they get to pay 1 and take one of their choice. So you can see how where you place them is advantageous. Down here, you're allowed to trade any trade good. You got to pay. But you can trade any trade good to either take another trade good out of the bag of randomness, woohoo, which is actually a pretty nice bag. And you also get a spice. Or you can take one of these bonus chips, which will come into play at the end of the game. Where you have to trade a spice and a golden for one of those. I should mention that there's 2 resource cards that are available in the game. Spice and gold. They can be flipped to the other side to show that they're denominations of 3. Now, after each player has won one of these, they are allowed to check every available ship. So let's take a closer look at the ships. Each ship requires something. For example, this guy needs 2 light brown and a gray token. If I happen to have 2 light brown and a gray, I discard those and put my guy in the front position of that boat. While the brown boat here needs 2 light brown and a coin. So if I have 2 light brown and a coin, I can pay those. And let's say I'm blue, I can put my guy on this boat. Speaking of which, it is interesting how the people in this game are not cat-like at all. And we have had multiple in this game come that are deformed. But, well, what have you. When a ship has all its circles filled up, that ship launches. If multiple ships launch at the same time, then there's a time written on the front of each of the boats to show when that boat gets there. So let's say the boat launches. That boat's a brown boat, so the blue guy lands here. He now has 2 more moves that he can make. But before he makes those moves, he can turn over 2 of the tiles in the brown section. Both of those show the same thing, so he moves 2. He crosses this space, which gives him a money and a spice card. And he takes his token and keeps it face down in front of him. At the end of the game, these tokens are worth points, from 1 to 4 points, depending on how many you have. If I have 4 of these lions, they're worth 4 points each. If I have 1, he's worth 1 point. And that's what most of the tokens here are. Also, at the end of the game, you get points for however many of these guys you have adjacent to each other. If you have 1 by himself, 1 point. 2 next to each other are 2 points each. 3 next to each other are 3 points each. Gold cards are worth a point at the end of the game. 2 spice cards are worth a point at the end of the game. You can also sell these for money if you're desperate during the course of the game itself. So that's how the game works. The game, once a boat has launched, we grab a new boat piece and put it on top. By the way, I have to say, I really do like the 3-dimensional boat aspects of this game. That's pretty neat. I just put a new one on. When the last boats have been sent out and there's no more of these boat pieces to put on top, the game will end. At that point, we add up all the points from people's tokens. These bonus tokens might add something, depending on which ones you've taken. And also look at the island to see different chains that people have on the island, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, the other side of the board has a much bigger island. So since you can only move 3 when you move to the island, you have to consider wisely where you're going to go. Because you may go to a spot where you just get spices, but you won't get a token. So this has more strategy to it. It also introduces 2 more kinds of cards. You have food cards. Now, food cards are useful because they allow the player to move extra spaces on the island. And you have mysterious places, which some of the places on the island will have. A mysterious place comes into your hand, and it's worth a certain amount of points at the end of the game. Like this one's worth 1 to 2 points, depending on how many you have. This one only works if you have a good of that type in your hand. So the mysterious places and the food. And in fact, neither one of these changes really adds that much complexity to the game. So I would recommend using them both. Now, I will say one thing here. The artwork of this game is absolutely superb. The whole game has a really beautiful production. My only complaint about the production is that when you're looking at the different tiles, especially those on the ships, sometimes it's hard to glance at them and see exactly what colors what. The dark gray and brown are very similar. But other than that, it's a gorgeous production. And you can see all the pictures of cats. Oh, well, some of those figures do have little tails, I guess. Okay, first things first. The theme just drives me nuts. Because what in the world? What were they thinking? I mean, did the guy's daughter draw cats and they thought, oh, you know, here's a way to get them into a game? Okay, let's put the theme aside. As a trading game, obviously, you know, if you've watched my other reviews, you know that that's not my favorite genre, but I'm always looking for ones with great gameplay. Like Goa is one where the theme's like, really? But the game is so good. Part of this game I enjoy. Part of Felinia I enjoy, and that's putting down the tokens, and putting it down last gives you the first chance to buy something, but costs you more money. The set collecting of the chips and the putting people next to the island, I despise that. That's just so, it doesn't even make any sense thematically. I can understand wanting to have the most of certain meetings of natives, I don't know what they are. But putting different people on the board and having them adjacent becomes suddenly super valuable as opposed to having them all over. How's that thematic? You know, putting a bunch of McDonald's in one place is better than spreading them out? Whatever. It's a Michael Schacht mechanic, and it's very similar to China or Web of Power. And that part was just so boring. And I guess I felt that way because the game is kind of interesting at first, but after a while you're like, man, We're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And it would have been fun. Here, I'm going to go back to the theme. It would have been maybe fun if I could have said, here comes 5 more loads of kitty litter. And we could have made jokes and stuff about that. But it's the same stuff all the time, glass and spices. So it's interesting, but it lasts a little too long for what I'm really interested in. And in the long run, you don't know what chips are where. You don't know what goods are going to come randomly out of that bag. The advanced rules say you may turn over the top ship. Do it, because there's like no advanced knowledge of what's coming up. So you're kind of blindly guessing, and it's very tactical, not as much strategy as you might think. So taking out my feelings on the theme aside, but taking them out, it's still not a game that I'm interested in playing. Felinia.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.